Oh, hi. I'm Allie.
And I'm Will.
I'm a cutthroat woman who just can't kill a non-playable character, no matter how great the reward.
And I'm a lapsed comic book nerd who actually owned a Sega 32X.
And when we combine forces, we become the co-nerding operation known as the Pairables. Well, hello there.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. And I would even go as far to say that I am excited.
Oh, why would you be excited?
Because today, you and I are recording our very first episode of the podcast known as The Pairables.
Oh, where is the insert some sound effects with clapping? Oh, that's even better.
Is that what you wanted?
That was a real clap.
That's a real clap.
Yes, it is. And thank you for joining us, friends. Welcome to The Pairables. As we said before, our co-nerding operation where we do pretty much whatever the hell we want.
Government sanctioned. Yeah, we have complete leeway to do whatever we see
Trump
fit.
Backed.
He started it, as far as I'm concerned.
He was like, you know what? You.
Contacted us personally.
You and you. He was like, you know what? I love creative people and gays. No, definitely not. Yeah, welcome to this journey with us, my friends. William.
Yes.
William Boyd.
That's me.
Why don't you tell our friends at home what they can expect on this venture?
Home friends.
I'm
talking to you directly right now. Allie and I are going to be bringing you, on this podcast, we're going to be bringing you every kind of conversation you could even hope for when it comes to nerd things and some other things too. We're talking games, and I don't just mean video games. I mean Monopoly, I mean D&D, I mean tic-tac-toe, what have you.
We could have a mean game of tic-tac-toe at any moment.
We're gonna cover tic-tac-toe so hard.
Of course we are.
We're talking mainstream, we're talking movies, we're talking comics, we're talking superheroes, not superheroes, fantasy, sci-fi, TV shows. Here's the thing, nerddom is not just about genre.
That's right.
It's about how dedicated and obsessed you are
to whatever it is.
To whatever it is, the details of it.
Don't try to put us in a box.
I'm circle shaped.
Don't put this circular peg in this box shaped hole.
That's what they always say.
Because it won't go in there.
Confucius says.
Well, I think, friends at home, what's the point of this episode today? I'll tell you what it is.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm going to tell you.
I was going to say, I don't want to take this again.
I am going to tell you what it is. It's to find out who the hell we are. Who is Will? Who is Allie? Let everybody kind of get to know who we are as human beings. So I thought that the easiest way to kind of broach this subject, what would you define as your top 3 nerddoms?
Top 3 nerddoms.
Nerddoms.
I want to have 2D sounds when I say it, nerddoms.
I think that's fine.
Because nerddoms, I barely know them.
Never heard of them. But I am going to let you start.
Oh, me.
William Boyd.
Me.
Which I don't think I'm ever going to call you anything else now.
That's what my grandmother preferred I be called, it seemed like.
Deal with it.
Had no problem with my dad. Like the last name short wasn't an issue for her.
No.
She just liked the sound of it.
She
William
remembered
Boyd.
her last name.
William Boyd would have been great because...
William Boyd sounds like an author, if you will.
So many poems I would have written. Yes. A collection of letters from William Boyd.
Are they just you talking to your cats?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then writing back.
That's fine. No, it's letters from you, responses from your cats that you are writing.
I do write. I have 3 cats, and I do write their messages to family whenever I have cards for family.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you sign their names?
I do.
Oh,
They all have different fonts because they all have,
course, they're
as much as my handwriting will allow. Yeah. I'm deep into psychosis. There's no way I'm not going to get all these things. And I'm a nerd for cats.
I'm like an accidental nerd for cats because I'm a dog lady, 1,000%. My lovely wife convinced me to get a single cat that she sold to me based on the fact that it was mostly hyperallergenic, as I kind of have some sneezery that comes
High
up.
sneezery
That comes up when I'm around feline things.
The feline citizens.
The feline citizens. And that fur ball that she brought home is easily my favorite thing on this planet.
Aww.
Sorry, love, family. and my children. And then about 2 to 3 months later, she told me he was lonely and needed a brother. And I said, And then I said, okay.
Well, she is a known cat intuitor.
Yeah. She has a very, just like one, sharing a brainwave. So we did indeed purchase a brother for him.
That's a terrible way to put it.
Just right at the cat store.
I purchased a sibling for you, child.
Enjoy. But yeah, so now I love those little furry creatures, and I really love not having to fucking take them outside.
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about how great that is? Just for a quick aside.
Let's do it.
Love it. I don't love something shitting in my house.
I'm so used to it. I was going to say, like, I've been living with it since day one. So
I've never not dealt with it.
I've never not shat inside.
We don't ever really like go anywhere that long. But if we were to, I'd be like, can someone go check on them? Probably you. That's probably your job now.
Yay.
Okay, so anyway.
No, I don't. I want to meet your cats, though, of course.
The cat cast, that's a different venture that this is not. William Boyd, start me off with number 1 on your nerddom list.
Well, and just to be sure, I'm going to go in chronological order of when they came into my life.
Oh, okay. So this is not necessarily
important. This is not
important.
a top 3. No, because it's hard for me to, I could maybe do that.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I will do that myself.
I have been a fan of comic books since I was 4 years old.
How dare you?
Real young. Yeah, it was offensively young. And I'm sorry, but it happened and I can't undo it.
Where did you get it? Where did you get your first comic book at 4 years old?
Well, my cousin Tim. I have an older cousin, about 15 years older than me. And he was my buddy. I'm an only child, so he was kind of like my older brother growing up because he lived nearby, relatively nearby. I would go visit him, and he was sweet enough to spend time with me we kept doing this up through my teenage years, where I would go. He was a great artist. He actually was going to college and taking art classes and that kind of thing for anatomy because he loved comic books. Oh. And so he introduced me to superheroes, specifically Marvel. He was a Marvel guy. And so we would go over to his house, do drawings. I would be like, we would do drawings. I would say, you do me a drawing of Captain America. I'll do you a drawing. And he would tell me what he wanted drawn. And it's like, you hold them up and it's like.
Yours was garbage.
It was terrible. I have some of mine around. They're great.
You're garbage.
I came up with some great characters. And he had this big box of old comics that eventually he just let me have. And they were really classic things, and whether I could appreciate that at the time, we're talking like really classic runs that were going on in the 80s of Marvel Comics. There was Walt Simonson Thor. There was Chris Claremont X-Men going on. They are really, really solid. And so that Marvel was my bedrock for the longest time. Okay. That got me into drawing. Drawing kind of went by the wayside because drawing I was such an editor when it came to drawing that I was just like taking dumps on myself.
You're never getting anything.
I never would have gone further. Eventually I got into DC as a teenager and I really liked the history.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Are you mad at me?
Get out of here, Justice League. Get the hell out of here.
I do. Well, and that's the thing. So into comics. I did lapse for a bit when I was, I relapsed into non-comics reading.
Because somebody introduced you to sex.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that wasn't much later.
Hey, don't admit that.
I will say that music was what took over for comics for a bit, but actually Vertigo and The Sandman brought me back into comics. Oh. But then eventually I found my way back to superheroes again, and the Justice League, you mentioned. I read Grant Morrison's JLA run, which is some of the very best superhero comics you'll ever read. Just fun, smart, action-packed. And that, I'm such a nerd that I wrote comic book fan fiction for years and started my own Justice League fan fiction site with other people writing their titles for these characters, me writing Justice League.
Did you have a zine or a zine?
We didn't have that. No. Well, because this is, when do you think this was happening? 1975?
Hey, those were hot in the 90s. Thank you very much.
You're right. No, it wasn't a punk zine. It was just an online thing. And it kept going on well after my involvement. But that's how nerdy and into the details of the comic stuff I was. Really, the ones that still stick with me are the adult comics, and I don't mean like Bang Comics #1 so much as like Sandman or The Invisibles is one that truly is a spiritual like tome in my life that's very important to me. But doing the fan fiction stuff got me into writing more because that was something I was interested in, and actually have submitted scripts and pitches to Vertigo Comics. And then when Marvel had this thing called Epic Comics in the it was a total clusterfuck, and none of them made it through. They just said no. But I did submit to that and got soundly rejected.
Hey,
But introduce me to
rejection
writing.
letter is a badge of honor.
It's true. I did have them up on the wall for a bit because I heard writers
also
do
will
that.
point out that you are wearing a Flash t-shirt.
I love a Flash.
You love Flash.
The Flash for me was Wally West when I was growing up, and the Green Lantern for me was Kyle Rayner. If you got a problem with that, listener,
Come for me.
come to Allie. Register a complaint with my supervisor, Allie.
I will, I'll listen to your claims. I will listen to them.
True customer support.
And I'll be like, let me introduce you to Marvel. You ever heard of a Wolverine? Get in it.
So I don't read comics often anymore. I don't buy them regularly, but I do keep up with what's going on in them. I'm a comic book lurker.
Okay.
Yes.
Comic books. Let me see how I can possibly relate to that. I grew up loving, I guess, primarily Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And as something that we share, the X-Men cartoon, which was both a morning ritual for me. But yeah, I think on comics, I'm pretty comic ignorant.
Well, hopefully on this show, we'll be able to maybe fill in some of the gaps in your
maybe you'll tell me some things.
education.
Yeah, educate me, if you will.
I'd like to hear about a nerddom. Nerddom.
I sort of regret using that phrase now, but you know what?
We'll wear it out by the end of the episode. Never have to use it again.
I'm committed. So I'm going to start with adult animation,
Okay.
which in this particular case takes the form of The Simpsons.
Okay.
Also an only child. I actually grew up in more of a rural juror. You watch 30 Rock at all? No, nothing. Dead.
Nope.
Dead. Okay, cool. In a
I know what it
community where
is.
we did not, that's good. We didn't have like high-speed internet. Like when dial-up first became a thing, it was like harder than hell for us to even get it. Thank God we had phones at least, but you know, it was painful nonetheless. So from a young age, my mom really gave me a lot of free reign. She basically told me, because it was decently mature, she said, hey, I'll let you watch some things that are more adult, but when you start taking advantage of them, i.e., repeating them at inappropriate times or like rubbing it in other people's faces, like running around like cursing and things like that, she was like, then that privilege would be revoked.
When it affects your behavior in a way that I find to be negative. Yeah.
Exactly. She's like, hey, I'll give you this chance. You're either going to blow it or you're going to run with it.
Don't blow it, kid.
Don't blow it, kid.
Here's HBO.
Here's Skinamax. It's fine. So I was able to watch The Simpsons. None of my friends were able to watch it. Their parents thought it was
funny to me. That so many kids I've met.
Their parents are like,
so many people I've met who were kids at the time.
crude.
Yeah, it's like
How
it's
terrible.
You watch it and it's like, this is just art. This is just great television. There's a lot of family values here.
Oh yeah.
It's not even very crass. It's just smart. It's some of the best comedy writing you'll ever come across.
Well, it was meant to be real in terms of kind of those family dynamics, but that was one thing that came on just regular TV. We had satellite TV at that time.
Oh my gosh.
That was like when they required an actual, like some form of a legitimate dish outside of your home.
And you had your own personal satellite that they would send up that beamed you exactly what you wanted.
Up into it. They're like, what TV do you want to watch today? But because it was a Fox property, I could watch it. At that time, you could only have satellite in like one area of the house, which was in the living room. So I was able to get a TV in my room, but I just had like, the base channels. So I utilized that quite a bit. So I watched a lot of DVDs, played a lot of video games, which I'll get into later. But one thing that really like took up a lot of my time and I can remember from a relatively early age would be The Simpsons. And to be fair, I guess I've already screwed this up because chronologically video games did enter my life before.
Hey, you don't have to do it the way I did it.
Hey, baby, you're right. Hey, don't make me don't make me adhere to your rules. No, but I got to a point where I just really loved the episodes and I could just like recite them inside and out. And I got a VCR and I taped them. And if I was feeling particularly frisky, I would even go as far as to be there watching them live, pause between the commercials. So when Allie wanted to go back later and watch commercial-less experience.
It was practically the Criterion collection.
Incredible. I had boxes of these VHSs.
Yes.
And my mom was like, glad you love it. Like, do it. There's a lot of them. At that time, they were really good. They wouldn't always do it, but usually they would play them chronologically. Mm-hmm. So it would be like, we're on season 4 right now or whatever it is. And they would go through it. I'll never forget. So my box of treasured Simpson recorded tapes, I had a cousin that came to visit me. And he was like, oh, you record The Simpsons and stuff. He was like, why don't we just hang out and watch some of those? I mean, we're in Texas. It's incredibly hot in the summer. We're like, hey, let's hang out in the AC, watch Simpsons. And he opens the box. And the way that I titled the tapes were things like stuff, cool stuff.
What?
awesome stuff. And he was like, Allie, I swear to God, if I read another fucking tape that says stuff,
Yeah.
I'm going to lose it. The problem
Did you find
is,
that helpful to find things?
I did not, because to me it was all good stuff.
Right. So you could have just thrown on any tape. You might as well just not label them.
Yeah, the label was pointless. But,
it wasn't a system of no adjective means pretty good.
Yep.
Awesome is second level.
We know it's good then.
Yeah. Okay.
There were some Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes in some of those. Like that was kind of scattered in there as well. At that time, there was no way to know what episode it is.
Yeah.
Like there was no, and I didn't have doop internet to be like, hey, what episode is this? And then as I got older, when DVD was pretty prevalent, when they first started releasing them on DVD, I just started buying them.
Yeah.
And I literally had like alerts on things to find out like when is the next one going to come out. I think I stopped buying them after 13 or 14. And then they did a special 20-year one, which was on Blu-ray. And I bought that. And I think that's like the last one I bought. They're still at my house. I have not let them go.
I have them too. I have them like
I saw one in your living room.
Season 3 through 9 probably. Oh. Because they have the commentaries on them.
Some gold.
And those are really, I love the commentaries on them. There's a lot of funny stuff in there and cool information.
I spout a lot of random Simpsons lines. I have so many fond memories. One of my really good friends that actually works for me now is one of the only people that I can throw out a disposable Simpsons line, and he actually laughs because he gets it. He and I watched them together when we were in high school. We would actually come home every day after high school, and they would come on around like 4 or 4:30, and we would be like, yeah, we did it every day, ritual. My wife does not find it funny at all. It was nearly a deal breaker.
She's a little younger than you.
She is a little younger than me. No, well, that's true. That is true.
I said it almost lasciviously.
She is a little younger.
A little younger than you, huh?
Yeah, she's not into it. I don't know what it is. I think that she was kind of raised in an era where that was just dumb.
It was dumb by the time.
It was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it. I've managed to get her to watch like some modern cartoons, but in terms of other adult animation, I watch a lot of it. BoJack, really enjoyed BoJack Horseman. We both watched the new, is it Enchanted or Enchantment? Disenchanted.
Yeah, I have not finished it. I really enjoyed the first 3. There was a mistake. Someone I was watching it with, I thought we agreed not to watch them unless we were together. Oh. And I had said the opposite of that. Feel free to go ahead and watch them because I'm going to. And then
you hang out with them and they're like, oh, well, I'm done. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
How dare you?
Yeah, I was like, oh, really? So now I need to catch up on them. But yeah, I love Disenchanted. What I saw of it, I liked a lot of it. And even more than that, Futurama.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. I was like, I kind of feel like I sound like a jackass noob that I didn't put Futurama as the kind of the second one. I got spoiled with that. I didn't have to go into the DVD buying spree, although I did that for a little bit, hitting up like Movie Trading Company, get them for like $7 or something.
The commentaries here's the thing. I'm a nerd for the commentaries.
Oh, you all about that commentary life?
Well, on comedy shows, yes, because typically it's like a podcast basically going on over the thing. And the Futurama ones are especially
great,
funny. Well, because you've got like John DiMaggio and Billy West and Maurice LaMarche telling funny stories and doing a bunch of voices, especially John DiMaggio.
Let's see, more modern ones that I've enjoyed. Bob's Burgers, I think that's an obvious. I really think that show is pretty smart, especially the earlier ones. I feel like The Simpsons over time kind of hit that point where I'm like, oh, like we're really in this lull, which, full disclosure, I've not watched the newer seasons, but I hear they're really good. So people have told me that this latest like 2 to 3 have kind of been more of a return to form. Will is making this hellacious face, like how dare I even imply this?
Well, it's just funny to me because I feel like every year or so, every few years, somebody tells me, yeah, it's not that bad anymore. Which is not a reason to go watch something for me.
That's true.
And it's kind of like fad diets. It's like, oh, no. Yeah, that was bad. We agree. That was bad. Don't be on the Mediterranean or whatever it was. But this one,
actually the best
I know. But this one's better. Yeah. This one's actually good. Okay. I think these are not as terrible. Good. Or you moved out of a neighborhood and then they're telling you like, actually, it's not as crimey around here anymore. Like there's fewer shootings.
There's 30% less shootings.
Yeah.
I mean,
shootings are down.
Thank God. Probably the other two, I would say larger scale from my a little bit younger, was King of the Hill and Daria. Watched a lot of both of those. King of the Hill is kind of a different thing, being from a small town, a Texas town especially.
That's right.
Those people existed in my world. I can name a Dale. I can name a Hank. Like, that kind of stuff. Didn't have a Boomhauer, unfortunately, but, hey, whatever. Daria was another one. I love that whole like 90s blase, fuck everything. Why does it matter? But yeah, I would think overall kind of like adult animation and cartoons. I don't know what that is. Some people which I don't think is true, say that you were robbed of a childhood if you enjoy adult cartoons.
What?
Like we grew up too fast, so now we like them.
I mean, okay. They can have that.
Whatever. I was like, I watched cartoons as a child. I don't know if that works.
So many fucking cartoons as a kid, and I still love them. So I don't understand. I don't know what evidence, what study did they do? Is this the Kinsey study or something that they put this through? There may be cases where that's true.
Yeah.
But don't throw a fucking blanket on me.
And that was the thing where they did like I got a lot of like immaturity comments. Like, well, why are you watching a cartoon as an adult? I was like, just because it is dressed as a cartoon doesn't make it any less adult.
And I feel that as, the generations like move up the totem pole, as our generation is further up in power, the same way that, it's like who dictates what the culture is.
Yeah.
And so it's much more accepted than it was.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're talking about it like it's fucking like pirate radio or a truly controversial thing, but it's more, is it respected?
Yeah.
And I think it is more than it was.
Oh, for sure.
And of course, The Simpsons played a huge part in that.
Absolutely.
I know people who are like, yeah, if it's animated, I just don't want to watch it. It's like, it's not really happening. Or
My wife.
I'm just
That's
it. That sucks because there's a lot of great stuff.
You're missing out on some good shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are times where there are shows that come out that are good, and because they're live action, sometimes I'll be like, I live in that every day. I think that is something where I will kind of admit to enjoying adult cartoons so much because I'm like, thematically it connects with me, but it looks different, I guess you could say.
Well, and you may be aware of this, there's study that shows that we will attach emotion and connection to probably more simple drawings or representations of humanity, not necessarily, hopefully not over actual humans, but because they leave enough for our brain to put together. Because they're not a full, like it's before you reach the uncanny valley, it's that area where it's more representative, that we can actually connect to that very strongly, partly because we're putting together the pieces of this represents a person and I'm going to fill in all the other ways that they're a person visually. So I've had a very strong emotional connection to Futurama is an easy example. And most people who watch the show have cried to it. And I have too. It's Seymour,
the dog.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's the easiest one.
I've watched that episode one time, and I will never watch it again.
It's rough.
I literally can't do it.
But and that's a testament to that show's ability to go like all the way to zany and all the other way to really heartrending.
And I have a friend that actually thinks adult animation is really stupid, but for some reason she got pulled into BoJack, and
I was going to say she's stupid.
Yeah, you're stupid.
Yeah,
and she got really into it. And she warned me. She was like, "Girl, this season's gonna mess with your all the feels." And she was
gonna mess you up.
Gonna mess you up. And it was, it was really good. And I have not watched the latest one yet because I was down the Red Dead Redemption hole. TV kind of took a back burner. But anyway, that was a lot of words to say. But that's my adult animation. What's next on your list, William Boyd?
Next on my list, you've mentioned it. We mentioned it before. Video games. I've been playing video games almost as long as I've been reading comics, I guess.
Okay.
I'm about to be 35 years old.
I don't believe it.
Well,
35 years young.
There you go. I've stopped being mistaken as a teenager.
You're like, finally.
Which is, no, I don't know why. I liked that. But
you enjoyed that?
I'm a weirdo, yeah. My first experience playing video games was a NES over at my cousin's house.
Okay.
And he had Mario, he had Duck Hunt. These things were great. I think he had one of the light gun games where it's the Western dudes that are popping up.
Yeah.
I think he tries to play it in Back to the Future 2, the arcade version of it. There was a game. I'm not a sports guy. That's not a thing that I'm a nerd about. In fact, I'm a nerd about I'm obsessively not watching sports. Yeah. But there was a baseball game. It was just Baseball was the name of it. And it was actually really fun. Actually, when I got a Wii years later, that was one of the first things I downloaded was that game.
Was baseball.
And I didn't even understand the game of baseball when I was playing it. I certainly didn't care, but I enjoyed it. And it was fun to do. As far as video games for me, like in my house goes, at the first house that my family lived in, there was what you would call a sewing room, I guess. It was really a storage room where cats could go do their business in the boxes. But there was a bunch of storage shit in there. My mom was in there doing something, and I came in to ask her a question. And I just turned around, and there was a box sitting completely out in the open on top of other things. That big Nintendo original NES box that the NES came in.
Yeah, that's
and it
a big box.
Like blue lines on it, a picture of Mario and Duck Hunt on it, all these things. And I just looked at it and looked back at her. And I don't know. I don't have a clear memory of her, but I want to say it would have been like, no, because that was not intended for me to see yet. That was a gift that was coming up. I don't know if it was a birthday or whatever.
Whoops.
So I was like, well, it's for me. Can I play it now? And I'm an only child. And I'm a spoiled guy.
Yep.
I'm a spoiled guy. My mom goes and calls my dad at work.
She's like, hey,
to say,
you found it.
We're probably going to have to, because you can't keep me from it at that point. I'm going to bug the shit out. She had opened up a box. She'd written a check for me bothering her daily or by the hour if I didn't get to play it. So
I hate those kind of checks.
So she cashed it and let me have the game system, and it was just the beginning.
Yeah.
But I played them a lot, and I really enjoyed them. I would also get really frustrated with ones I rented from the video store. Like I remember renting like Populous or something like that. So one of these God games, an early God game, and I didn't read the book, the instructions.
I'm just diving into this God life.
And I did not know what to do. And I remember just sitting there, just like almost crying out of frustration. Like I wasted my one opportunity to play a game this weekend. Because like, you rented what game a week and maybe two or something like that. Yeah. When it came to the 16-bit era, I made the wrong choice. History has not smiled on me in this way. I chose the Sega Genesis.
Wow.
So yeah, I got Sonic.
So you had Mortal Kombat, and that was it.
Yeah, I had Mortal Kombat. I had Sonic, which is great, and we had Echo the Dolphin, which is hard for me to play because I'm afraid of the ocean. So it's like hard for me to.
Oh my God, are you also afraid of the ocean?
Yes, very afraid. On Mario 64, when that came out, the water levels, I was a nervous wreck playing those.
Oh my God, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I hate the ocean.
It's bad.
One of my favorite articles is a BuzzFeed article. They talked about like a billion reasons why the ocean doesn't fucking want you in it. It doesn't want you. It doesn't want you.
It is the least hospitable place on Earth.
Oh my God. Yeah. I could do a whole spiel about that.
It's
but I'm
scarier
gonna let that
than
go.
space.
I'm gonna let that go. So you made a terrible decision.
Yeah, I made a terrible decision.
You could rip people's spines out of their body, which is cool as fuck.
I was drawn in. I was seduced by the hyped up coolness, supposedly, of the Sega.
Yeah.
And while
I was trying to be that sexy new big boy console.
Yeah. What's this sexy? It's like a black Porsche pulling up and like, hey, get in, buddy. It's your cool uncle. And it's like, oh, wait. Damn. You're not giving me that good stuff that stays with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't play SNES very much. I do remember playing, until later. Yeah. Because what happened is, over time, of course, I would rent video game systems from the video store.
Oh.
For parties and stuff like that. Oh, boy. Like, we also rented the Sega CD to attach to the Sega, which you get to play games like Night Trap and Crisscross, which is, did it make you jump? Yeah, it did. I mean, I'll admit it. I really enjoyed it at the time, but it's just like these games were barely above the level of the Genesis games. I did own a 32X. Which was another add-on.
I don't think we need to talk about that.
It's a piece of shit. No, it didn't do anything. It was a total scam. Sega should be punished. Ashamed. But we would rent the Super Nintendo. And around that time is when my friend introduced me to the idea of JRPGs. Oh. And if you're into those, and I know you're not, Allie, and I want you to save it. Just stow it.
Just stow away my disdain.
Stuff that disdain down. But that's the system you wanted if you're going to play JRPGs. Yep. So he lent me his Super Nintendo. I played Chrono Trigger. I played Final Fantasy III. Earthbound was a big one. Yep. I really enjoyed that. And he also got me into Final Fantasy in general. And so when the PlayStation was coming out, and I got a PS1, Final Fantasy VII.
Well, thank God.
Yeah, I got on board. Well, I did have a Dreamcast later.
Yeah, of course you did.
Mistake. But
Hi, my name's Will. I love throwing away money.
Yes, exactly.
Or my parents' money.
That was really the start of like enjoying games on a level of true obsessiveness. Yep. Trying to get everything in Final Fantasy VII. I started Final Fantasy VII all over again to try and do everything perfectly because one fact on the internet said that you could bring Aeris back to life if you just did this, which is not true. Yeah, I tried to do it. Yep. But that level of OCD-ness, which follows me now, but also the story involvement, that was the ground floor for me. Yeah. And then from there, that's what I continue to like, not necessarily JRPGs, but story-driven, option-driven, the world. These days, I tend towards games that let me sneak around because I think I'm addicted to the adrenaline feeling. It's a way to take back power in my life. Breaking into people's houses.
By day, I am not a sneaky man.
No, I'm a digital sneaky person. Yeah, a virtual sneak.
Yeah, well, I'm going to piggyback that since obviously video games is very much a shared love of both of us. I was a smarter individual. I did not purchase a Sega of any kind.
A Sega-free household.
Yep, Sega-free household. My video game journey started when I was pretty young. I had a friend that did have a NES, like first original.
A NES.
A NES. Had the original. She had no business owning it. She was absolutely terrible. Couldn't even do Duck Hunt, even when she was standing with a gun right up on the TV screen. Couldn't do it. Terrible. Definitely terrible at Mario. She was what I would call a B-tier friend. But at that moment, I realized that I could make her an A-tier if it got me more screen time playing Mario at her house.
You little budding sociopath.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
Can you send me a spreadsheet of where I am on the tier?
You're fine. You're okay.
You're good enough.
I am self-aware enough now to let you know you're okay. No, I wasn't terrible to her or anything. I was just like, oh, it just hurt me that she had that and I wanted one. And the funny part is, though, looking back, I never asked my mom for one. I never said, Mom, can I have one of those?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'll go to Brooke's house. It'll be fine.
I didn't either. I don't think I asked for the Nintendo, although I may well have. But it does feel like something that was like, if you didn't have it, I didn't know you could get it. I just assumed people they're like appliances in your house. Like it's having a refrigerator.
Their house came with one. Okay,
yeah,
great.
Exactly.
That's cool.
You're one of those people who has one of these.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't have those at my house. Interesting.
Well, because what a concept. Like here's this little machine that makes these things happen. To us, it was
magical.
New. Yeah, magical.
I was like, oh. So I was really close to my aunt and uncle. They lived really close to us, and they had an older son that unfortunately passed away. But one day when I was at their house, my aunt and I were like doing something very mundane, like cleaning out a closet. I found a box that had an Atari in it. It had Pitfall, and that was about it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and there's another, the shitty cowboy game where you're like two little stick figure cowboys. It's essentially
I know what you're
Pong.
talking about. Yeah.
It's essentially Pong with guns.
With bullets. Yeah. Bullet Pong.
I take that back. It did have Space Invaders. So that was the first, I would say, home experience of a console I had, was one that I just inherited from a decade prior, which was really interesting. And for some reason, again, she told me I could take it home, but I only kept it at her house. I was like, no, I'll come to your house to play it. I don't know. Why I didn't bring that into my life, whatever.
Maybe you were aware of how much you would be involved. You needed to keep it.
No, and I really was close with my aunt, and I think I was just like, oh, well, it gives me more chance to spend time with her or whatever.
Sure.
Then, now I don't remember how this happened, but for some reason I did get an original Game Boy. It was a gift. I clearly asked for it. I was very into it. And that was during the time where if you want to play that shit at night, you got to be up under a lamp, up under a thing, whatever.
Probably ruined your eyes on that shit.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I think it was Super Mario 2 or 3. I could verify this if I went home because it was such a big deal of my childhood. I bought one off eBay and the 3 games that I had just to put in a drawer so one day I could show it to my kids.
Here's Mom's video game museum.
Mom
a history of what I've played.
Mom loved this. I haven't bought any of the other consoles, but that one for some reason hit me. I remember when the accessory came out that clipped to the top of it that had the 2 really shitty little lights that did 1,000% not help.
Yeah.
But my mom bought it for me. She was like, look at this. I'm like, oh my God, what a game changer.
Yeah.
The more fun part is that my mom would get sucked into them. So when I would get stuck on a level and I'm like, I can't beat this. I've played this for 3 hours. I can't beat it. She would then take a turn at it. And then she got sucked into it. And then I would come home and catch her. I'm like, why are you playing Super Mario, Mom?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I've never got through this level. So from that point, I did ask for a Super Nintendo, a SNES.
I had a SGen.
Yeah. Don't ever say that again. So the Super Nintendo was a big deal in my household. So played a lot of that, namely Mario Kart, all the Donkey Kong I could get my hands on. I don't know why. Obviously just Mario in general.
Do you mean Donkey Kong Country?
Donkey Kong Country,
yeah, those
yes,
were
sir.
good. Those were good.
We played those a lot. But the thing that really sticks out in my head in terms of being a child was the N64 era. Now, that is a very controversial era. For some people, they're like, that thing was garbage, that thing is whatever. I also had a PS1. Like at that point, we were in the I'm buying a system, every one that comes out.
I did too.
With the exception of Sega. We did not do that shit in my house. So with the N64, this is a stupid reference, but I was sitting there eating my cereal one day and the Today Show was on and they had just announced the console and they were like, look at this goofy, look at the weird controller. And I was like, Mom, that thing is weird as fuck. I don't know what it is, but I want it.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, totally, we'll get it. Mind you, we were not wealthy at all, but my mom it was something that we did together. And plus then it would kind of, I'm like hanging around or whatever. The funniest thing that I had, my mom, first of all, schooled every one of my friends in Mario Kart. None of them could beat her. None of them. But the funniest one to me is Turok the Dinosaur Hunter.
I well remember that one.
That game was hilarious. My mom could speed run that game. She got to a point where she could actually speed run it. And it's so fucking random. So then from there, we graduated into the PS1 era, which my funniest memories, to your point, talking about the God game and you didn't know what the hell you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was Metal Gear Solid, original.
Oh, yeah.
A legitimate stealth game that I have no concept of how to play, but it didn't even matter. I failed constantly and I just kept trying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can get under this box. Now I'm hiding under the box. Oh, somebody found me because I was moving while they were next to me. You know, it's like...
You're using critical thinking skills to figure it out.
Yeah, it just like, it didn't really let up. I played, obviously, Parappa the Rapper. Everybody played that. Oh, God.
Kick Punch, it's all in the mind.
Everybody kind of got into that.
To the left. Once you could break into freestyle mode on that, because I'm a musician, so it was so fun to get to play my controller.
Did you bring your own instrument to that?
My brain.
Yeah.
When you like kick, punch, kick, punch, punch. You know that it was just so great. It was. I loved it.
It is great.
It's a lot of fun.
You're not wrong. And then there was this BMX game. I cannot remember the life of me. I've tried to Google it. I've tried to do whatever. You just ran around. I think you were a courier.
Is it the one that was like adults and people were really offended by it?
I don't know. And there's a part of me that thinks that is. I remember it had cursing in it. And my mom was like, oh, well, that's okay.
Oh, my.
Oh,
Dear me.
And then we got into like Tony Hawk. That was actually, I'm so sorry. We graduated. I had only had Tony Hawk games on the GameCube.
Oh.
We hit that GameCube life.
That was the one that was just, N64 has some clear like cornerstone video game stuff on it.
Mario 64 is like insane.
It's so good.
To me.
And obviously the Legends of Zelda on that was great. There's a lot of other good ones on there.
Yep.
The GameCube felt like, even though it was a new thing, it
Definitely
just felt like a holding pattern.
Definitely a letdown. Yeah. When you buy a Nintendo console, you're not buying it because you want to play.
No.
Nobody bought a Switch to play Skyrim on it.
No.
I almost did just because I thought about sitting in my office at work during my lunch break and playing Skyrim.
You're totally right. And I've considered buying a Switch. I have a PS4 right now, and that's what I'm limited to. But I considered buying a Switch just for the Smash Brothers game and for the Zelda game that's on there.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. That looks great.
I'm like the only person I know that could not get into Zelda. And I feel kind of bad about that. I really want to like it. One of my friends bought a Switch at launch and he was like, this is like an RPG, like a legit RPG.
It's an open world
he was like,
game.
There's no way you won't like it. But I'm like, I'm not going to buy this console right now just to play this thing.
That's what I keep telling myself. I'm like, man, there's got to be more. And I've never been much of a portable gamer. Yeah. Like I bought a DS at one point and just didn't use it.
Did you own a PS2?
Yeah, I did.
I don't know how I didn't. For some reason, I think that's when I hit a lull. I was in 8th or 9th grade when they came out. Mm-hmm. And I kind of hit that thing. I think it was that stupid, like, prepubescent kind of like, I'm hanging out with my friends now. I don't have time for video games.
That's so stupid.
It's ridiculous. And at that time, I was very much in the closet, obviously. Mm-hmm. In small Texas town, being openly gay is not great. So that was like a thing that boys did. So video games kind of got like put to the
I just like the voice you used for it. So that boys did.
That's what boys did. But funny enough, I did get an original Xbox.
I did too.
Played a lot of Halo.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the last console I really bought for a long time. I was finishing up college, bought a PS3. What's interesting, so I had that, and then I got a 360. So I got a 360 later in the life cycle. I didn't get the original, like the white with the red rings of death. My cousin actually came to live with me briefly because he moved here from Lubbock, Texas. And I had to get him out of there. So I was like, of course you can live with me. He decided one day, like on a whim, he was like, I'm going to go buy an Xbox. He bought the giant white one, red ring of death, like a refurb. And he had Oblivion on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
I like where this is going.
I was like, what you doing here? What's going on here? And I sat there and watched him play it. And it infuriated me how inefficient he was that I went and bought my own. And at that time, mind you, Skyrim was also out. So
I didn't think about that.
So the best part about the late discovery there was the wealth of games that I got. Not only the wealth of games I got, the lack of money I had to spend to get said wealth of games. It was insane. So being kind of a late comer to that generation was beneficial for me. But what's really interesting is I'm just glad that it really like reignited my love for video games. And I haven't looked back since. I was like, I'll never not have a console again.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, it is cool. I mean, whether it's that or a TV show or a band or whatever, like to get in on not the ground floor.
Yeah.
Like to just come in late is cool because you come in and it's this whole world of discovery.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they have 7 albums. Oh my God, there's 14 seasons of this or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
But the problem is you will go through it faster than it came
You
out
sure
or that it's
will.
currently being produced.
You sure
So
will.
even if you play all through Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim, it's going to take you 6 years or more.
I would say out of your list, even though I know we haven't each hit our third item yet, out of your list, which one of your items would you say is the most active impact on your life right now? Like, which one of those would you say, like, I am in this more than any of the other ones?
Oh, well, video games for sure.
Yeah, same.
Because comics, like I said, I'm kind of on the outside of, and the next
A
one,
lurker, I believe is what you said.
yeah, a lurker, a comics
lurking.
lurker. But and then video games, I'm actively doing, and then on my third nerddom, which remains secret.
You know what?
this point.
What a good segue, if you will. Get on into it.
So my third nerddom is pretty much in line with your first, but I'm just going to say cartoons.
Okay, you're gonna go cartoons.
I mean, I of course watched cartoons a ton as a kid. I had all these toys. And here's the thing. It should be fairly obvious if you know me already, you know that I have another podcast
I was
called
going
the
to say,
Days
I
Past
think this
Tooncast.
is a great time for a shameless plug.
Days Past Tooncast is a show where my friend Travis and I watch old Saturday morning cartoons from like the 80s and 90s, sometimes other eras, and we use them as a springboard for funny conversations. But I did enjoy all of them as a kid, and they're still fairly enjoyable.
Oh yeah, I tried to convince my kids that Power Rangers was the greatest thing that I'd ever seen till they put it back on Netflix, and I tried to watch it with them, and I was like, avert your eyes, children.
No.
It's bad.
Thundercats, He-Man, these types of things, they were all on my radar, and then into the 90s. But more than that, I mean, it wasn't just the action stuff. Like, I loved everything from those shows to the Nicktoons. I loved Doug, loved Rugrats, loved Rocko's Modern Life. And once Cartoon Network came around and they were playing these old Hanna-Barbera superhero type shows, but they were also playing Tex Avery Looney Tunes. I mean, I watched a ton of Looney Tunes. All these things. I mean, if it was animated, I was enjoying it, probably.
Yep.
It didn't really become a nerddom for me until Simpsons when I was in junior high. And I had the same experience where I would go watch it every day after school.
Yep.
Because they're showing them at least once a day, I would quickly catch up on it and also see some of the same ones multiple times. So you start catching more of the jokes. I mean,
sometimes they would replay the one that was like the after school one, like at 10 p.m. or something.
Yeah. So it was very easy to see, and it was just such a learning place for storytelling and for comedy, it turns out. But at the time, it was just like, oh my God, this shit's so funny, and I don't have any understanding of why. It just is. And then going to school and finding those kids that appreciate it on the same level, where it's like, oh yeah, it was funny the animation they did for his face at this point, or that line that's not the main funny line that everyone's going to laugh at. That's the one that I'm focused on.
And welcome back to people that look like things. That's one of my favorite cutaways in that show. Oh my God.
And that was very much it, even though some kids watched Simpsons, and of course many didn't for reasons that you were stating earlier, it still boggles my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, the president did say don't watch it, essentially, at the time.
Yeah, it's very true.
That's where it truly became I am hyper-focused on all the things, because it offered such an experience of detail, and it awarded someone who was paying attention.
Yeah, no,
I was
absolutely.
looking for more. From there, let's see, Adult Swim started coming out around the time that I was...
you on that Robot Chicken train?
Getting into college. It was okay.
It had some moments.
It's occasionally okay. I like seeing those things.
I was more into the visual than I was what they were actually trying to do.
No, but like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, I loved. I did like Dr. Katz when it was on Comedy Central, and that led me to liking home movies when that came out, which I love home movies.
I love home. Oh my God.
I'm not so much a Metalocalypse guy. I didn't follow it as much. I think it's well made.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you brought up home movies.
But home movies precedes both of those, and it's a lot of the same people.
Oh my God.
And it's so perfectly.
Walter and Perry. Oh,
and it's
so good.
It's a bunch of improv. It's like very sweet on one hand, but it's also just it's insanely funny on the other. Those types of things, like, The Simpsons hit both sides. It can be funny, it can be heartwarming. Futurama, obviously.
Yep.
But I didn't get even more into the details of this stuff until I worked at Funimation, which is based here in Texas.
Yep.
If you don't know, they do anime like Dragon Ball Z is the big get, but Full Metal Alchemist, a whole ton of shit. I worked as a audio engineer there for a couple of years.
Wait, are you
2 or 3
an
years.
audio engineer?
I am an audio engineer.
An audio engineer.
Yes, I engineer audio. That's one thing that I do.
Oh.
I did that there for 2 or so years, and working with directors and actors and getting to see the craft, and also just to kind of be interested in the details of how those things get done.
Yeah.
Made me much more of a nerd when it comes to the voice actors.
Yep.
And I ended up getting voice work out of that gig that I did for longer
Well,
than...
when you got a voice that great, why should we deny people?
That got me work longer as a voice actor than working as an engineer there. And so that experience as well just had me more focused on those things. And so watching a show like Futurama, watching any cartoon, there's more enjoyment for me for some reason for that experience.
Yeah.
Like you, as we already established earlier, like I'm totally in the camp of, a cartoon can be a kid's thing and a wonderful kid's thing. It's just a medium.
Yeah.
It's the same way that comic books don't have to be superheroes.
Yeah.
And also the superheroes don't have to be for kids. It's like saying movies are only for adults.
Yeah.
Why would you say it? That's a stupid
garbage.
thing to say.
It's
And you're
garbage.
stupid if you say it.
Damn right.
Yeah.
You're a moron. Get out of here. Here's the door. Go.
So what's your final nerddom? I want to hear it.
I'm gonna
Spit
keep
it out.
it short because I feel like we've kept the folks probably a little long.
The class dismisses when the teachers say the class dismisses.
Oh God, I love that. I love that so much. It's pretty big in my life. I would say, kind of to piggyback what you said earlier, video games is easily the most prevalent right now because, it's kind of a busy working mom, wife, etc. Like it's one of those things where I have my downtime when I'm just going to like chill out. I'm going to get in there and, pop in whatever game that I'm currently kind of delving into, if you will. But my number 3 would have to be Star Wars.
I was going to say, I'm going to guess because I'm going to point at these figures over here in the corner.
These figurines, yep.
We put together a family of Star Wars
Just for me.
for you, and we included some of the extended family.
Yeah, Cyclops.
Such as Cyclops from the X-Men, 2 Godzillas,
There's a King Kong.
a couple of Jurassic Park branded dinosaurs. I just wanted you to feel at home.
Families are diverse.
Because this is, we work in the same space.
We do.
Like, actually do. Not, we worked for the same company, but not exactly.
We do not. We work for companies that are owned by the same parent company.
So
we share a
siblings.
space.
You and I are siblings.
We are siblings. We are work siblings.
And so I had observed before I ever actually met you, and then we started to become friends and then do this podcast, that there was a lot of Star Wars stuff being thrown around.
Art on my body,
Yep.
things near my desk, that kind of thing. So I was first introduced to the original trilogy when I was young. And my mom, again, just letting me watch whatever, had them on. She was like, watch this thing or not, whatever. There's 2 things
What
that
a parenting approach.
Yeah, do it or not.
It's just, you know what? Here's the show. Watch it or don't. I don't care.
I watched also a lot of music videos. It's a whole different thing. But my mom always had, it was this thing called like Friday Night Videos. My mom had them taped for some reason. So I think that I got that weird like taping thing from her.
I taped shit too. Don't think I didn't. Full House got taped a lot.
Oh,
and so
my
did the
God.
old version of the Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, the cartoon got taped off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into that. So she had those. Those were actually owned videos, but she showed them to me and I was like, okay, I'm kind of into this. The 2 things that I took away as a very young child was, can I have an Ewok? Yes or no? Sadly, the answer was no. Although I kind of made that reality come slightly true for me 2 years ago when my youngest son dressed up as Wicked. So that feels like slightly a win.
When I rented, what's his, Warwick Davis? What was his name?
Yeah, Warwick Davis. And now he's been in Harry Potter. He's still in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. He's getting all kinds of
He's
work.
crushing.
He's great.
He's crushing. Yeah, I really wanted an Ewok. And I really love something about the design of the stormtroopers, which is very interesting. And Will is a person that knows me.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell in my office there's stormtroopers everywhere. Like I'm obsessed with all kinds of different troopers.
You have an army at your command.
I sure do. The weird thing is, though, my personality is not that of a follower, which is interesting. So a lot of people ask me, they're like, well, do you identify with these people? Like, what is it? I was like, it's all in the design. I love the design. I love the various ones. Like, I lost my shit during Rogue One when I saw those Death Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the whole nuance behind it with they have certain encoders and their helmets decode what they're saying so no one else can understand what they're saying. Like, that kind of shit I'll eat up. But there's something about Star Wars that I just think it's a different kind of magical for me. Will and I have had several conversations about this. I actually got my wife into Star Wars, which she's not like an imagination sci-fi. She's none of that. So we use the goofy example of she thinks like Marvel is just a shit show because they're like, there's this gauntlet with things in it and now he can do whatever he wants. She describes why she likes Star Wars is because it has rules. Like they're not going to go outside of certain parameters. And when they decided to do that, Disney came in and said, nope, Legends, you're out. Sorry, EU. But sometimes I genuinely try to like sit down and put like some thought into it and say, what is it about this that like completely pulls me in? And it genuinely is like tied into a lot of nuance. Like there's beauty in a lot of different things within it. I could do that classic like feminist thing and be like, look at all the women characters in it. And I do love that. I love seeing that. I think that's one of the things that they've done that's also cool in the new trilogy, like literally making the front runner a woman. But to be fair, when you go back to the original trilogy, Leia was mega important. Spoiler alert. So they were women were not, shoved to the side.
No, there certainly weren't a lot of them running around doing
not at the time.
Important things. We don't mean in the world. We mean in Star Wars. Like
in the world, there were women were doing anything.
Yeah, I mean that's not atypical of the time. Not that makes it the better choice.
Yeah.
But but she really was, even in that first,
badass princess.
Yeah, in Star Wars, not A New Hope. I don't know. It's a dumb thing to call it. Like she was clearly, even though she was being rescued, she is not needing that, especially. That's just something that's being done. No. She is not, woe is me.
Balls for days. She was wonderful. So I always thought that was really cool. But yeah, I get caught up into the design, I love the thought behind a lot of it. Like, I don't know why. It was just like I say like a tightly woven kind of thing, but that's actually not true. It's kind of all over the place in all reality.
That's why I laughed when you mentioned her saying that it has rules. I'm like, it
has rules with that asterisk, meaning like when a big boy company comes in and says, we can't manage all this shit, thus it has to go.
Or when someone says, you remember your magic force powers, they come from things inside your body.
Oh my God. So kill me, midichlorians.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, when it was like less, I liked it being general kind of mysticism, not necessarily a religion, not cells in your body.
The prequels, I saw them each once in the
That's probably
theater,
good for you.
And that was it.
That's probably not a bad decision.
No, and I know that. I knew it at the time. By the time, after the first one, we were all like, these aren't going to be good.
What's really funny is a lot of people, like, with the side things, they kind of get into it and they're like, you have the Star Wars fans are like, George Lucas ruined my childhood with these. And I'm like, okay, get over yourself.
Yeah.
When those people get mad, I'm like, great, make room for new Star Wars fans that can appreciate other things. That's not to say that, trust me, I think the prequels are mega garbage.
Yeah.
It's just a shame because they're in kind of a cool time period. Probably one of my favorite properties in Star Wars is actually the Clone Wars series, which gets into a lot of stuff during that time frame. So many more good stories, so many more interesting characters. And, somebody was asking me, they're like, I always have people that like know what Star Wars is, but only because it's kind of like a big thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, are you so excited for that new Star Wars movie? And I'm like, bitch, the thing that I'm excited for is Clone Wars coming back. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm like, Rey will be fine.
It's funny that Star Wars is so big that of the things that we're listing, we're listing things that are like mediums, basically, that we're nerds for.
Yeah.
And then there's this, which is a franchise.
It's an entire category.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's how big it is that it's like it's almost a genre. Yeah. Star Wars is a genre.
Totally. And I mean, I have my right arm is a half sleeve of Star Wars tattoos, and I kind of reserved this arm for that. But they're very, I wouldn't call them like cookie cutter ones. I've got like a Captain Phasma. I have some lightsaber hilts from one of my favorite characters in Clone Wars. They're not like totally out in your face. I would say this Rebel symbol is probably the biggest one that I got.
The one that would be most obviously.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing that pulls people in, or they just think that the Phasma helmet is just a stormtrooper in general.
Yeah,
like, a stormtrooper, and I was like, yeah, kind of.
Sure.
Let's talk about it. But I get lots of it pulls people in, which I really like.
Like you have a pamphlet ready for them how to tell your stormtroopers apart.
Where do we want to start here? Yeah. But Star Wars, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm even like my laptop, it's got a Captain Rex helmet that's from Clone Wars. I have like all this random stuff. It just like seeps its way into my life, and it's always kind of a constant. Like if I'm having like a cruddy day or something, I can have it just playing in the background. It's like one of those comfort things, I guess you could say. That's essentially how I feel about The Simpsons as well. For a long time, I would just have it as background noise.
Oh, I've done that plenty of times.
Yeah. I'm like, I can like sit there and see my mouths moving, reciting the lines, that kind of thing. But that would be my third one.
Nice. Yeah, with Star Wars, I think one reason I haven't dived into much outside of the film, and I have. I mean, I owned a Star Wars encyclopedia by Bill Slavicsek or whatever his name is, just because I liked reading about, like entries on these things that are also extended universe.
Yeah.
And I had the West End Games Star Wars RPG guidebook that was just like entries on these characters, but I didn't know it was for a game. So it would say they had.
You just wanted it because it was there.
Yeah,
you wanted to read about it.
It would say this person has D6 luck, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's good luck. I don't know what that is.
I wonder what I'm rated.
How do you measure that? Yeah, exactly. But I think one reason I'm not as interested in some of the other things, because I also I tried reading Heir to the Empire.
Heir to the Empire.
And it's not bad, but I'm more interested in the characters from those first 3 films than I am the world, which is not a bad world.
Okay.
But it's so wide that the thing that truly defined those films for me was the Force and the characters that I met.
Yep.
And so to get me into something Star Wars related, it's not that it has to have one of those characters in it, because I played Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, yeah. Give me that KOTOR.
Which I loved.
Yep.
But they gave me, also it was a video game, but they gave me interesting characters to get involved with and a character I could decide who they are.
Yeah.
And then the world was neat because it was familiar to me because of Star Wars. But
you could go to locations you recognize and things like that.
And just lightsabers. There's a Millennium Falcon type ship. There's things that the way the world works or the universe works are a little bit established, at least.
Yeah.
But I think I'm more interested in like just Han Solo as a person, or Luke Skywalker is alluring, or Princess Leia, and not that more characters can't be brought in that are as interesting, but that's more what I connect to.
Yeah.
And so the extended universe, I've read about these things. I don't care about all these different alien species. Who cares?
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I think the thing for me is I hit a point where I was like, yeah, I'm a Star Wars purist and I'm only going to like this and I'm going to do this. And, then I woke up and realized, okay, well, if I'm going to act that way, Star Wars can't ever evolve. I'm never going to get any more of it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get, and trust me, with some of the newer films, I am not saying that they're the end all be all and the greatest thing ever.
You're not.
I will say that I think Rogue One is exceptional, and if you disagree with me, then you can get out of here. But
I mean, it's my studio, so
that's kind of fair.
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
But I think that if you get caught up in the mindset of, okay, well, I got to be a purist and stick with the originals, then you are missing out on a lot of great opportunities for really great characters.
Sure.
And I mean, my arm is proof of it, because most of the things referenced in my tattoos are like what most people, if they definitely don't know who they are at all, or they happen to be involved with some of those kind of more nuanced areas of Star Wars. I try to keep it open. Not to say that I can't be a ragey Star Wars fan, because I for sure can do that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm happy to have more quality Star Wars, and I'm really happy that Disney started pumping those brakes a little bit when they were like,
oopsie, we pooped out a Han Solo.
Yeah, boy, did they.
That's a really valuable position to have. I don't even know if that's how I want to say that, but basically that you can be a fan of something and be passionate about it, truly love it, and truly disagree with choices that are being made surrounding your thing.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that the thing is ruined, or that you have to be inflammatory about it and be a shithead about it, or whatever, or boycott it, or come up. I mean, you can come up with your own version or whatever, but like that passion can just be used.
Yep. It's
not passion anymore if you are just raging about it.
Yeah.
And you're not critiquing, and you're not being reasonable. It just turns into a scream fest.
Nobody wants to contribute to the fucking hate machine that's on the internet already.
Well,
There's plenty
a lot
of that.
of people do.
Oh, they do. That's true.
A lot of people
what am
do
I saying?
want to.
Everybody actually wants to do that.
It's fun to be angry.
It's
fun to be angry and to rally around something.
Angry about those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to be that jackass.
I want to be positive on the Pairables, don't we? Relatively.
We want to be realistic. Realistic.
That's the important thing. Not necessarily just positive, but balanced.
Yeah.
Fair and balanced.
We're a fair and balanced
We're a
duo.
news show. Yeah. A news duo.
And here's Will with the news. Thank you. I'm really excited to go on this little adventure together, though, my friend.
Me too.
We're wonderful.
Future episodes are going to be interesting because our friendship is relatively young.
Yeah, it is.
And in fact, it's not old enough to even be feeding itself, as far as I understand it.
Not even close.
I'm looking forward to learning more about you.
Yeah.
And talking with you about the various subjects of nerddom.
God bless nerddom. God bless it. Again, we just want to thank everyone. Give them a little thank you. Throw them a thank you.
Thank you.
Good man.
Thanks, mister.
We really appreciate you guys listening. As we kind of grow, we would love some more interaction with the audience, if you will. You can follow us on Instagram at The Pairables. You can also reach us via email, theparables@gmail.com. Will, is there any other projects that you would like to plug? Would you like to tell the lovely folks one more time about Days Past?
Days Past Tooncast with Will and Travis, and I'm the Will, and that Will and Travis.
William Boyd.
We have adult conversations about yesterday's animations, old cartoons. We make yucks for 45-ish to minutes to an hour. You're going to love it. If you like Thundercats, like He-Man, if you just like to laugh, you don't have to have seen the cartoons. Come check it out. It's on all the major podcast providers.
All of them.
Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts is a new one that people are using.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Get on that puppy.
Okay. Well, we'll get on that.
Please
do. It is really good. Will is very smart.
Thank you.
He's agreed to come on this journey with me, for better or for worse. Don't mind the gun next to his head, but it's fine. It'll be fine. But again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.